Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the world of US 1-cent coins, commonly known as pennies. You'd be surprised how valuable some of these little coins can be. From historic moments to rare errors, these pennies hold fascinating stories and can be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. In this video, we'll be counting down the top 7 most valuable US 1-cent coins and exploring their history, unique features, and current market value. Let's get started. 1981 cent. The 1980 US penny is part of the famous Lincoln cent series. First introduced in 1909, this coin series honors the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. By 1980, the penny had already undergone several design changes and material adjustments. In fact, if you take a close look, you'll notice that the 1980 penny still features the same obverse front design Lincoln's profile created by sculptor Victor D. On the reverse, we've got the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was first introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This reverse design would last until 2008. When it was replaced with the Union Shield design in 2010. Now let's talk about what this coin is made of. In 1980, pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition was used from 1962 until 1982, when the rising cost of copper forced the U.S. Mint to switch to a cheaper zinc core with just a thin copper coating. Because of the high copper content, a 1980 penny actually weighs 3.11 grams, which is a bit heavier than the modern pennies we use today. So what's the value of a 1980 penny? Well, as with any coin, it depends on its condition and rarity. Most 1980 pennies are still worth just 1 cent if they're in circulated condition, which means they've been used and show signs of wear. However, uncirculated coins or those in near perfect condition, what collectors call mint state ink, can be worth more. An uncirculated 1980 penny could be valued anywhere from 30 cents to $2 depending on its condition. And if you come across a penny that's graded MS65 or higher, it could even fetch $5 to $10. There are also some rarer varieties to look out for. For instance, pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint don't have a mint mark, while those from Denver will have a small D on the front. And keep an eye out for error coins like off-center strikes or double dies, as these can be worth a lot more. Now, here's the big question: should you clean your 1980 penny? The answer almost always is no. While it might be tempting to shine up an old penny to make it look new, cleaning a coin can actually decrease its value sometimes significantly. Collectors prefer coins in their original state, even if they're a bit dirty or tarnished. Cleaning can leave scratches or remove the coin's natural patina, which is considered part of its history and appeal. So if you've got a 1980 penny or any old coin that you think might be valuable, leave the cleaning supplies alone and take it to a professional for an evaluation instead. So the 1980 US penny is an iconic coin with a rich history. And while most of them aren't worth more than their face value, there are a few gems out there that could be worth more, especially if they're in mint condition or have errors. Next, 1975 1 cent. The 1975 Lincoln penny was minted during a time when the design hadn't changed much. It still features the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the obverse front side, which was designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse back features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959, replacing the original wheat ears that were on the back from 1909 to 1958. By 1975, pennies were still made of a copper alloy, consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition remained unchanged until 1982, when the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-plated zinc core due to rising copper prices. Mint marks and production. Now let's talk about mint marks. The 1975 penny was minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your penny has no mint mark, it was minted in Philadelphia. If there's a small D under the date, it was minted in Denver. If you see an S, it was minted in San Francisco. Philadelphia and Denver minted the 1975 Lincoln penny for circulation, while San Francisco primarily produced proof coins for collectors. Over 5 billion 1975 pennies were minted, with Philadelphia producing over 5.4 billion and Denver minting around 4.5 billion. San Francisco, however, produced only about 2.8 million proof coins. So while 1975 pennies are common, proof pennies from San Francisco are much scarcer. 1975 penny composition. As mentioned earlier, these pennies are made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Because of this, each penny from 1975 contains about 2.95 grams of copper. While the melt value of the copper may fluctuate based on market prices, it is generally more than the face value of the coin itself, making even circulated pennies technically worth more than 1 cent in copper content. However, it's important to note that melting pennies for their metal content is illegal in the United States, so these coins must remain intact. What is the 1975 penny worth today? Now, the big question: what is the 1975 penny worth today? For most circulated 1975 pennies, their value is close to face value, which is 1 cent. That's because they were minted in such huge quantities, making them easily available even today. However, certain factors can make your 1975 penny more valuable. Condition coins in uncirculated or near perfect condition, often graded as MS65 or higher, can be worth between $1 to $15 depending on their quality. Proof coins, if you have a proof penny from the San Francisco Mint marked with an S, it can be worth anywhere from $2 to $10 or more depending on the condition. Errors and varieties, some 1975 pennies may have minting errors such as double die strikes, off-center strikes, or missing mint marks. These error coins can be worth significantly more, with prices ranging from $50 to $500 or more depending on the rarity and demand for the error. Interesting facts about the 1975 penny. In 1975, inflation was on the rise in the US, and many people were worried about the future of the economy. Despite this, the penny remained a key part of everyday transactions. Even though millions of pennies were minted in 1975, today people often overlook them, making it a fun and potentially valuable coin to collect. So whether you're a casual collector or just curious about the value of that 1975 penny you found in your pocket, it's always worth taking a closer look. 1974 1 cent. The 1974 1 cent coin, commonly referred to as the Lincoln penny, is a widely circulated coin in the United States. It features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor D. Brenner, a design first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse, you'll see the iconic Lincoln Memorial design, which was in use from 1959 until 2008. Beneath the memorial, you'll spot the tiny but important FG initials of the designer, Frank Gasparro. The year 1974 was a significant period in U.S. history, both politically and economically. Amid the Watergate scandal and an energy crisis, the U.S. Mint produced billions of coins to meet the nation's demand for currency. One of the most interesting things about the 1974 penny is that it marks the final years of a high copper composition in the penny. Pennies from 1909 to 1982 were made mostly of copper, but rising material costs led to a major change in composition. By 1982, the penny was primarily made of zinc with only a thin copper coating. Now let's talk about the different versions of the 1974 penny, which are essential when determining their value. There are three main mints that produce the coin. 1974, no mint mark. These were produced in Philadelphia, and as the name suggests, they do not have a mint mark. 1974 D. These were minted in Denver, and you'll find a small D under the date. 1974 S. These were minted in San Francisco and carry the S mint mark. San Francisco also produced proof coins in 1974, which were sold to collectors and are known for their sharp, high-quality finish. Additionally, there's the experimental 1974 aluminum penny, which was never officially circulated. The U.S. Mint made about 1.5 million of these coins to explore alternative materials, but the idea was scrapped, and most of the aluminum pennies were destroyed. However, a few escaped into the public, making them extremely rare and valuable. Now, on to the question we all want to know: what's the value of a 1974 penny today? Circulated coins, most 1974 pennies you come across in everyday pocket change, have little more than face value. That's right, they're still just worth a cent due to the billions minted that year. However, they can be worth around $0.02 to $0.05 due to their copper content. Uncirculated coins, if you have an uncirculated or mint condition 1974 penny, it could be worth more. Depending on the grade, these can fetch anywhere from $0.50 to $2. Proof coins, proof versions, especially those from the San Francisco Mint, can be worth more, typically around $1 to $5 depending on the condition. 1974 aluminum penny. If you somehow have one of the elusive aluminum pennies, you might be sitting on a fortune. These can sell for upwards of $250,000 if authenticated, but the chances of finding one are incredibly slim. To determine the value of your 1974 penny, condition is key. Coins are graded on a scale from poor P1 to mint state MS70. Here's a quick breakdown. Circulated coins, these will show wear and tear. The more worn it is, the lower the grade. Uncirculated coins, these are in mint condition with no signs of wear. Look for a strong, bright finish. Proof coins, these have a shiny mirror-like finish and are struck with greater detail. If you have one, be sure to keep it protected to preserve its value. If you're unsure about your coin's grade, consider taking it to a professional grader, as even minor differences in condition can drastically change the value. 1982 1 cent. The history behind the 1982 penny. This was a significant year for the U.S. Mint because they made a major change to the composition of the penny. Before 1982, pennies were mostly made of copper minus 95% copper and 5% zinc. But rising copper prices pushed the cost of making a penny higher than its actual value. So the mint decided to switch to a cheaper composition, 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1982, both copper and zinc pennies were produced. This means there are two different versions of the 1982 penny. And not just that, there are actually 7 different varieties due to the combination of mint marks, compositions, and size changes. So what are these varieties? Let's break it down quickly. 1982 copper large date, 1982 copper small date, 1982 zinc large date, 1982 zinc small date, 1982 D copper large date, 1982 D zinc large date, 1982 D zinc small date. You can tell the large date from the small date by looking at the number, specifically the 2 in 1982. In the large date, it's thicker and more rounded, while the small date is slimmer. As for the D mint mark, that represents the Denver Mint, while pennies without a mint mark were made in Philadelphia. Now, here's how you can tell if you have a copper penny or a zinc penny. The easiest way is by weighing it. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs around 2.5 grams. So if you have a scale, it's as simple as placing the coin on it. If you don't have a scale, try the sound test. Copper pennies tend to make a higher pitched ring when dropped, while zinc pennies sound duller. It's not as precise, but it can help. So let's get to the big question. What are these pennies worth? Well, most of the 1982 pennies you find in circulation are only worth their face value of 1 cent. However, there are a few exceptions. 1982 copper pennies, large and small date. These can be worth anywhere from 3 to 10 cents if they're in good condition due to their copper content. 1982 D zinc small date. This is a key coin for collectors. In uncirculated condition, it can be worth around $15 to $50 or more, depending on the grade. Error coins, there are some rare error coins, such as the 1982 D copper small date, which wasn't supposed to be minted. If you have one of these, it could be worth thousands of dollars. Always check for errors or unusual characteristics. If you think you've got a valuable penny, it's important to know its grade. Grading is based on the condition of the coin, how much wear and tear it shows. A mint state or uncirculated coin will be shiny with no signs of wear, while a heavily circulated coin will look dull and worn. To get an accurate assessment of your coin's value, consider having it professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC. 1961 US 1 cent. The 1961 Lincoln cent is part of the long-running Lincoln penny series, which started in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This penny replaced the Indian head cent and features a portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. On the front or obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln's profile, which has remained largely unchanged since its introduction. Above Lincoln's head is the word Liberty, and to the right is the date 1961, along with the mint mark, if any. If there's no mint mark, it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Pennies from Denver will have a small D under the date, and in 1961, there was no production in San Francisco. Turning the coin over, the reverse features the classic design known as the wheat penny reverse, showing 2 wheat stalks on each side of the words 1 cent. Above this, it reads United States of America, and at the top is e pluribus unum, meaning out of many. This wheat stalk design was used until 1958, after which it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. However, many people still refer to these pennies as wheat pennies when discussing the earlier series. The 1961 Lincoln cent is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams. Pennies were primarily made from copper until 1982, when rising copper prices led to the shift to zinc with a copper plating. Since this 1961 penny is composed mostly of copper, its melt value has fluctuated with the price of copper. In 1961, over 1.7 billion pennies were minted between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, -1.7 billion. As a result, these coins are relatively common in circulated conditions. However, uncirculated or high-grade coins are more valuable. Let's break down the minting numbers. Philadelphia, over 753 million coins. Denver, about 1.7 billion coins. Now let's talk about value. In circulated condition, most 1961 pennies are only worth their face value 1 cent. But if you have a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, it can be worth a few dollars. A 1961 penny in MS65 condition, which is a top-grade mint state, can fetch between $10 and $20 or more, depending on demand. Coins with rare errors, such as double dies or off-center strikes, can be worth significantly more. One of the most sought-after types of errors is the double die. If you happen to find a 1961 penny with doubling on the date, motto, or other parts of the design, it could be worth hundreds of dollars. Here's a fun fact. Lincoln cents are the longest-running coin series in U.S. history, and it's amazing to think that a design introduced in 1909 is still going strong today. So there you have it, a full breakdown of the 1961 US 1 cent coin. While it may not be the rarest penny out there, it's still a valuable piece of history and a great addition to any collection. Be sure to check your change or old coin jars for one of these, especially in high grades or with any errors. 1981 US 1 cent. The 1981 US 1 cent coin, also known as a Lincoln cent, features one of the most iconic figures in American history, President Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln cent series first started back in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1981, this coin had been in circulation for over 7 decades with only a few modifications along the way. The obverse or front still showcased Lincoln's portrait, while the reverse back of the coin featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design that began in 1959. Now, what makes the 1981 penny particularly interesting is that it was one of the last years that pennies were primarily made of copper. Starting in 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned to a composition of 97.5% zinc and just 2.5% copper due to rising copper costs. So, if you have a 1981 penny, it's one of the last full copper pennies produced. Let's break down the technical specs of the 1981 US 1 cent coin. Diameter 19.05 mm, about the size of a dime. Weight 3.11 grams heavier than modern zinc pennies. Composition 95% copper and 5% zinc, making it heavier and slightly more valuable in terms of metal content compared to later pennies. Mint marks: the 1981 penny was minted at 3 locations. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, mark D. San Francisco, mark S for proof coins. The S proof coins were only available in collector's sets and were not meant for circulation. Now let's talk numbers. The US Mint produced a massive number of pennies in 1981, as pennies are one of the most used coins in circulation. Philadelphia Mint, over 7.4 billion pennies were struck. Denver Mint, roughly 5.5 billion pennies were produced. San Francisco Mint proof, around 4 million proof coins were minted. While these numbers seem high, don't let that fool you. The condition and grade of your penny will determine its value. An average 1981 penny found in circulation is typically worth its face value, but in mint condition, it could be worth much more. Now let's get to the part you've all been waiting for: the value. The value of a 1981 penny largely depends on its condition or grade. Here's a quick breakdown. Circulated condition: most 1981 pennies in circulation are only worth their face value 1 cent. However, their copper content gives them a bit of a boost since copper itself has value. Uncirculated condition: if you have an uncirculated or mint condition penny, it could be worth anywhere from 10 to 30 cents. Not bad for a penny, right? Proof coins minted in San Francisco can fetch higher prices. A 1981 S proof coin can range from $1 to $3 depending on its condition. For collectors looking for high-grade coins, those pennies graded MS65 or higher mint state could be worth several dollars, especially if they have brilliant red coloring with no blemishes. Before we wrap up, here are some fun facts about the 1981 penny. This coin was part of the last full year of copper-dominant pennies. After 1981, the mint switched to zinc due to the rising cost of copper. A fascinating error to look out for is the double die error, where parts of the coin's design appear doubled. While rare, a 1981 penny with this error could be worth significantly more to collectors. And here's a quirky fact: if you melted down a 1981 penny, its copper would be worth more than 1 cent, but melting pennies is illegal in the US, so it's best to just keep them intact. 1979 US 1 cent. The 1979 US penny is part of the Lincoln Cent series, which has been in circulation since 1909. The Lincoln Cent was introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth and has become one of the most iconic and widely recognized coins in American history. The 1979 penny continues this tradition, featuring Lincoln's profile on the obverse or head side. The design on the obverse of the penny, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, has remained largely unchanged for over a century. On the reverse side, the coin displays the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1979, the penny was still being struck in copper. However, in 1982, the composition changed to a zinc core with a copper coating due to the rising cost of copper. So a 1979 penny is one of the last fully copper coins. Now let's talk about the mint marks. The 1979 penny was produced at 3 mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an SEs. The Philadelphia Mint produced the most coins in 1979, so these are the most common. The Denver Mint produced fewer coins, but they are still widely available. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins, which were made specifically for collectors. These proof coins are typically much more valuable than regular circulation coins due to their higher quality and limited numbers. Let's get to what everyone wants to know: how much is a 1979 penny worth today? For most 1979 pennies, their value is close to face value, around 1 cent if they've been in circulation and show signs of wear. However, certain factors can increase their value significantly. Here's what to look for. Condition: coins in uncirculated or mint condition can be worth more. If you have a 1979 penny that looks as shiny as the day it was made, it could be worth around $0.30 to $1 or more. Proof coins, proof pennies from San Francisco with the S Mint mark, can be valued between $1 and $5 depending on their condition and demand. Certain errors like double die strikes or off-center minting can make a 1979 penny much more valuable to collectors. These can fetch prices ranging from $20 to several $100s depending on the rarity and type of error. Collecting 1979 pennies can be a rewarding hobby, and here are a few tips if you're looking to add them to your collection. Check your change even today. You might find a 1979 penny in circulation. Keep an eye out for those in better condition. Buy from reputable dealers. If you're looking to purchase proof or error coins, make sure you're buying from trusted sources. Invest in coin storage to preserve your coin's condition. Store them in protective cases or albums to prevent tarnishing and damage.